Welcome to the PAX Hospitality Podcast. We are here today with the whole crew, Michael, Loren, Tim. What's up, guys?
Hello.
Hey. Today we are... Sorry, did you say hi, Tim?
No, I didn't, but I'm just saying hello now.
Just mouthed it.
I am definitely
Good
here.
for podcast listeners.
Okay, so we are all here. Those people I did mention, you've heard them all now. What we're here to talk about today, so just set up the episode with a little bit of context, right? So we're still on this pyramid trip, right? We're talking about the model, you know. So we've done a few episodes on it now around product consistency, identity, consistency, promo. And we're kind of trying to make our way through the stages, right? So, you know, we did identity, now we're moving on to product. But before we jump into it, I think it's just important to delineate a little bit about some of the terms that we use that overlap, because I think you can sort of think we're thinking about or talking about the wrong thing. So what's really important to note here, right, just to differentiate it, is in the model, right, when we talk about identity, product, consistency, and promo, product in that model refers specifically to your physical product, okay? It refers to the actual drinks, the actual food, the actual service, right, the outcome. But today when we're talking about product, right, we're talking about behind the scenes of that, and what we're actually talking about is product management, okay? So the physical products and the product management, not the same thing. Okay, obviously they're in the same wheelhouse and there's lots of overlap, but they need to be treated really differently. And a simple way to think about it is the physical product is the outcome of product management, good or bad. Okay, it's relative and it's correlated. So ultimately, when we talk about product management, right, this is effectively the discipline that ensures that the products that exist physically are optimized, coherent, aligned with your brand, your ops, your mission, and effectively your commercial success ultimately. Like, I don't think I'm overstating that when I put it that way. So, yeah, I guess we're going to drill the crap out of you, Michael, and we're going to ask you a ton of questions about this. Yeah, because I just think in other industries, right, like you look at tech, you look at engineering, everything is product management, right? And it's just so ubiquitous there. You can literally, there's, you know, best selling books that exist about this topic.
Yeah.
How you use it and leverage it in hospitality isn't so widely spoken about. And so, yeah, I think this is going to be a really revealing episode because a lot of people think about product. A lot of people think about, you know, even the words product management and go, well, yeah, of course I do that.
Yeah, I think it's always done intuitively. In hospitality venues, and then outside of hospitality in other industries, I think it was done intuitively for a long time until it had a label as well, until the emergence of the Apples of the world.
Yeah, and Toyotas and...
Yeah, exactly. And they obviously nailed it and gave it a label and were able to run processes and people understand what that is now. Whereas in hospitality, it's still just out of intuition.
Yep. But it's so easy to draw the dots, right? Like it's so easy to go, that's what they did in tech. Why don't we do that?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I had never heard of product management referred in hospitality until you literally said to me one day after probably a 5-minute rant about what I like doing at the moment and what I've been up to. And you're like, you know, you're a product manager.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And I was like, oh, what?
Yeah, that's right.
and I had never been referred to that before, and I've always been really confused about where I sit in industry.
Yeah. What were you calling it before I said that?
My role was creative director.
No. Because in that conversation, it was like quite an existential life moment conversation.
Yeah.
And we were talking about what would be your dream role if you could do anything. You had a term.
No, I think it was...
Instead of product, you mean?
Instead of product, yeah.
Right. It was like hospitality director or like something like that.
That's right.
And it was like, and that's what I think I said to you. It's like, oh, here's all the stuff I've been loving. If it was a role, it would probably be like director of hospitality or something like that in a venue group or whatever.
And then when you explained what it meant.
When I explained what it meant, it was like, oh, you know, it's about the end-to-end, you know, experience of a guest. And then I think you took that and then also all the things I'd spoken about, what I love doing around actual creation of specific products for a guest outcome. You're like, that's his product management.
Well, it's funny because I'd literally just finished reading The Lean Startup by Eric Rice. We had that convo.
Yeah, perfect.
And I was listening to all the Product Coalition podcasts by a guy named Jay Stansel.
Yeah.
Who's like the unbelievable product guy. And yeah, it was just like, of course it's that.
Yeah.
Okay, so sorry.
Yeah, I was going to say for me, it was just like a revelation.
Right.
It's like, I finally feel like there's something there that I could hang my hat on and focus on and actually say, I am this.
Yeah.
Because prior to that, it was always like skirting around, I'm a service guy. Now I'm a venue owner. Now I'm into the creative world a little bit. And then I'm in product and doing all this shit. But I was never able to say, like most people in the industry can say, I am a chef. I am a marketing manager. I've never had that until now.
But it also isn't, I mean, the risk of having an innovative job title is that you can quickly fall on the wrong side of that line where it's like, I'm the director of first impressions. What do you actually do? Oh, I'm a receptionist. It's like, okay. So how do you stay on the right side of that line? And I think that's what we're trying to tackle here, because it's great that was such a, penny drop moment, but like now we need more people than just you and I to understand it. And then
100%.
It's a thing.
I think a phrase that people would resonate with is R&D. So like an R&D chef is something that a lot of people understand.
It's very product.
Is a product manager.
Which is a product manager.
For sure.
Yeah. Focus and usually, head of R&D,
it's very
R&D
traditional.
chef. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so let's start talking about definition, but just to set you up for it, I'd love to maybe ask you a question. What does it actually mean to be a product-led organisation?
It's an interesting one, and you and I are going to argue over this. I believe it's going back to our pyramid and really looking at identity. It's understanding your identity and mission of who you are and what you do, and then finding a way to take that and meet the market where it is to create product market fit that way. Yeah. There is the argument of doing it the other way and saying,
which is what I always say.
You always say that the customer is at the center of everything and you have to respond to that.
Yeah. Whoa. Don't sell me short here.
Oh, sorry, real short. I'm going to go. I was trying to set you up, so it's real easy to smack you down.
No, that's not the whole.
Like how quickly got to just get this in and then refute it.
The bit that anchors that is effectively it's being customer centric at the heart of every decision you make.
Yes.
But not just that. Because if that's all you do, you'll just go around in circles and you'll just be knee-jerk reactioning to, every Google review you get. And, my dad used to always say that the customer is king, but you are the monarchy.
Yeah.
And it's that whole thing. It's about keeping being customer-centric at the heart of every decision that you make so that you can execute your mission in the most frictionless way possible for that customer.
I mean, the riff on that, and I love the customer is king, but you are the monarch. Like, that's perfect.
Yeah.
Because for me, and that reference to Google reviews or reviews in general, if you respond to every one, then you're not being true to who you are. So having the ability to look at a bunch of reviews and like, you know what? If 10% of people are hating what we do, but we've got that huge portion of people that fucking love us, I'm fine with that 10% not quite vibing with us, but I know that I've got this cohort of people that
you got the critical mass.
What we do,
and
I'm going to stick fat on the mission and just be like, we know who we are, and that's okay.
I think as well, right? Like in order to land there, you need to be able to read between the lines and do a bit of research. I mean, the one of the classic arguments against product that I've heard in my time is people always invariably bring up the Henry Ford quote, right? Which is. If I'd ever asked people what they wanted. I use that quote
quite a bit.
Faster horses, right? Yeah. And it's like, no, you dickhead. Yeah. It's like, he wasn't like, I just did, I shouldn't listen to the people. He was literally listening to the people.
Yeah.
But he wasn't getting stuck at them just expressing their wants. He was understanding what their needs were.
Yeah.
And that is literally the art of being able to, if you are just going to be knee-jerk reaction to everything, all you do is just listen to people. They just tell you what they want and then you do it.
Yeah.
Right? And the classic one, like marketing 101, right, is being able to identify customer needs. And they'll say the example that I got taught in my first ever marketing class, it was someone comes along, like a customer, and they say, hey, I want a cheap car, right? And you go, okay, but what do you mean by that? Does that mean you just want to buy a car for not a lot of money, or you want to buy a car that's not going to cost you a lot of money in the way that it's run? or you want a car that you're going to be able to sell for, more money like downstream. Like, what do you mean by that, right? And once you actually identify that, like, hey, they're saying they want a cheap car, but what they really need is a car that's not going to, cost them a lot of petrol because they've got a commute that's an hour a day. Okay, now you can really understand that. And people don't tend to give you that up front. So the faster horses thing is just getting stuck on the wants and not really diving down into, well, what are their needs? And then how do we actually ideate and create solutions to those problems?
Yeah, totally. And it's like going above the expectation of the solve. It's like you solve the problem, but you over-index on it.
Yes. Okay, so we both got slightly different definitions, but I think we're saying the same thing. Ultimately, right? It's about being really, really clear on your customer and making sure they're at the heart of everything. I'm just going to say it my way.
So just to be clear, I'm right.
No, but ultimately it's two things, right? It's customer experience, customer needs, right? Like that's one half of the equation. Yeah. And then it's your mission and your identity and how you bring those two things together to achieve product market fit.
Exactly.
Which is a very buzzy term. Do we want to distill that down a little bit? What does product market fit mean?
Yeah. Product market fit is there's a market for what you were selling.
So let's go example heavy on this, right?
Sure.
Like what's an example? Can you think of an example of someone who launched a product and there wasn't product market fit, so it tanked, or the opposite, right? Where you launched a product and it's just fucking crushed?
Tim's nodding. He's got one.
Go for it, Tim.
Well, we were talking before the show about Andrew Kelly and Small Batch opened Filter back in 2014.
Oh, yeah.
And as the name suggests, it was designed to introduce people to filter coffee.
Of course.
Because it was sort of in its beginnings, I guess. But there was an espresso machine in there as well because it felt like the CBD market couldn't quite grasp this whole filter concept.
Sure.
They just wanted to get a latte. So it was in brackets. Like I just read it was part of the Keys, a broadsheet competition basically. And in brackets it said, and we've got an espresso machine. So the initial idea was just to have filter coffee, celebrate filter coffee.
Go full Puritan.
The response didn't quite meet.
Sure.
Therefore they had to pivot. And there was an espresso machine sort of covered up as well. So it wasn't like front and center like they normally are. So
smart. I mean, that's cool. Great example.
Yeah.
The hospo example that always comes to mind for me is Chin Chin. Mm-hmm. It's just like open to a lot. Or, I kind of think Chin Chin and Mamacita were both in that same, I don't know, echelon, chapter of history, whatever you call it. And it was just that, right? They just opened to lines out the door. And you kind of go, why? Like, what was it? It's not like, it wasn't just cuisine. It was also price point.
Yeah.
It was, accessibility. It was service. It was the quality of standards. It was ambience. It was like the combination of all those things. And the city was just ready for it. The city wanted to be able to go down Flinders Lane and, not blow hundreds of dollars, and just be able to have something fun and fast and casual. And, that to me rips it as a hospo example. What do you guys got?
I feel like that's the perfect example of the product market fit. At the end of the day, it's just like a response to what is happening in the market and a creation of something that is different to what's there.
Yep.
And that's why they got such great volume early on.
Yeah.
And I feel like, not to get in the weeds too much with this, it's like I feel like right now with everything happening in the industry, what is that, 12 years on, 13? How old are these restaurants now? 15 years?
Yeah. Well, maybe not 15.
Were you nearly there?
10 to 15.
10 to 15.
Chin Chin.
Like we're coming out the other side of this cycle and I feel like there's an absence of that next wave of trying to do something that is a direct response to what's going on in the market to meet the market. And we're still seeing restaurants open at the moment. They're like they're
doing
pretty
the
big
thing.
swings
and
in a market that's like pretty precarious right now. And that's where I get worried.
Oh, sorry. Just sort of another great one. Stomping Ground, when they opened, and they sacrificed a big percentage of their seats
Playground.
for a playground.
Nailed it.
And Stomping Ground, I didn't know
now
this.
parents can go to the playground.
Exactly.
With their kids.
One thing I didn't know this about the brand when I first became, probably one of their best customers. But at the time I didn't know this until I kind of got to know them a bit more. But and it's right there in the name, right? Stomping Ground. It's about like your local community, right?
Yeah.
And they actually did the math and they were just like, yeah, look, most of the people coming in here are going to have kids. Like, let's create a space for that. And that was my go-to. I would literally, like when we had, Nevi, our eldest, it was just get home from work, grab him. That's where we go. Have a
I've
beer.
got mates who come from Geelong to go there because it's the only place where they can meet their family and it not be a shit show.
Yeah, nailed
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's a shit show, but, they're busy.
But it's fenced in.
I think another one, which, I mean, we've looked at 1,000 times, but steak night across.
Yeah.
Steak night at the moment,
So
right?
good.
Like an accessible price point, a really easy to access offer. Like I remember not battling, but, dealing with founders who maybe had pubs that didn't really want to be known as that kind of pub that ran steak nights.
Right.
But then when you get to your Tuesday, Wednesday night and looking at the revenue going, okay, like people aren't coming for what we're doing. We need to probably look at what they want.
Yes.
And, develop a steak night, but through the lens of that venue. It doesn't have to look like it does at the pokey venue.
Yeah, love that.
And the impact on revenue, and we've seen it across a couple of businesses for low rev nights, the turnaround in such a short time by giving the people what the people want.
Like you're just to quantify that, you're a lot closer to it than me, but you're talking about turnaround in numbers where it's like, they're doing $2,000 on a Wednesday night and then they go to 10.
And then they go to 10.
Yeah. And what I love about that is you nailed it from the example point of view, because you say the two aspects of this that we were talking about in terms of definition is customer and mission, right? Bringing them together without friction. And you do that because the first part is going, hey, let's just think about because like where you've had a bit of resistance with the founder or a chef or whatever the stakeholder is they're not thinking about the needs of the customer at the moment.
Yeah.
They're thinking about just their brand.
Yeah.
All right. And then there's other people that are just probably doing the promotional. I mean, sometimes you see a place that's got a different promo every night of the week.
Yeah.
They're just thinking about customer. They're not thinking about the brand. But when you bring that together, it actually nails the product market fit because it says, hey, on a Wednesday night, I might not really care so much about your incredible ethos. I still respect it. I just don't have a need for it right now. But I do need a cheap steak.
Yeah, and you can still meet that in your steak nights.
Yeah.
You can still be true to identity. And
Totally.
That's what we're saying.
Exactly.
You bring
yeah.
those two things together.
Yeah,
and-
totally. And even if the customer's a bit lost on it and they're coming because it's a $28 steak, it's okay.
You'll get people that drop in and feel this incredible vibe. You will then start to see repeat trade coming through because the vibe's so good.
Yeah, you become front of mind, right?
People are like, that's really good value. I bet all the other shit they do is
Exactly.
really good.
It builds trust.
Yeah.
Which is, counterintuitive to what some people think when you do these sort of promo stuff.
But it cheapens the brand.
Exactly. And it will cheapen the brand if it falls way outside of your mission and ethos. And it's like, I don't know, you're doing you're a particular restaurant and then suddenly you do something way outside of your cuisine as the special and you're like, why would I go there?
Or you install a playground.
Or you install a playground.
Might work, though, does it?
But another example that I'd say adding, and similar to the steak night, adding a Sunday roast at Reed has been awesome.
Great call.
Like it's now the third busiest service.
Wow.
Whereas before we weren't even open before on Sundays, apart from the odd sort of monthly pop-up stuff that we were doing. I think that's an example. It was like totally true to the ethos and understanding of who we are at Reed, and then pulling that through to something that everyone understands. And then, funnily enough, it's $35, but we can also do our normal set menu is available that day, and the pickup on that is disproportionate. Like, does it make sense that people are booking for a $35 roast, but then half of them are going for the set menu at $75, $80. So it's just this thing.
If you made them do that from the start, from like the booking process,
right. There's no way the
the
friction is too great. And I think over time we've built so much friction in getting people into our restaurants through pre-COVID into COVID out the other side. And I think a lot of us have kind of stuck to our guns around that friction.
It'll loosen it up.
Yeah.
Again.
So again, it's like, it might be sounding like we're getting a bit off track, but when it comes back to product market fit and removing that friction for the customer and allowing them through your door in any way possible, you got to do it.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of people are still sticking to their guns a little bit too much, and then you're creating an experience that is fraught with friction. And they're either they're less likely to come in or book at all, or if they do make it through your doors, then that the way they order, their head spend will be impacted.
So quick spot check, right? Like I think this is really great information and great content around how to break this down, right? So we've talked about, what is being product led effectively. And what we're saying is that it's about being customer centric in everything that you do, but in a way that marries it to your brand authentically without friction. And when you do that right, it creates product market fit. And we discussed all about what product market fit is in various levels of scale. Let's get into the nitty gritty and talk about like the toolkit, right? So how do you do this stuff, right? And before we do that though, I just think for people listening, this is a good opportunity to just stop and think about how relative this is to you. And the way that I would encourage people to do it is I would say if you own a business or if you are a stakeholder in a business where you have any say in the product offerings, then you should just stop for 5 minutes at some point today and look at everything that you're offering through the lens of what we just discussed. Okay, how well has every product on your drinks list or wine list or menu, how well has it achieved product market fit for you? And if it's a great score, understand why. And if it's not a great score, then understand why not and what you can do about it. And I just think if that's the only thing people take from this podcast, it's a win.
Definitely.
Okay, so let's get into the nitty gritty, right? Let's really define what we mean by product management from the sense of like, how do you do it, man? Like, what are you doing now at this point, right? Like, product effectively, we're saying it's everything, right?
Yeah.
Like, can you go through that for us? Like, what is it? What is it not?
Product is everything in the experience. So from the second you walk through that door until you leave. So how services run, the touch points throughout that service experience, to the menu and how it's formatted, to the dishes that land on the table, to the drinks, the wine, cocktails, all those pieces. Music, the ambience.
Yep.
I used to joke I was an ambience manager when I was in service still. Like, and honestly, a great manager is that. Like, if you've got that room rocking, then it's like it's half the battle. So when people sit in a room and feel really comfortable, that's when they're going to be stoked to be there and they're going to spend. They're going to love ordering off your menu and they're going to love interacting with your staff. Product is all of that.
And it's also like the memory that lingers afterwards.
Possibly the most important thing in what we do.
Yeah.
I think, so many of us get so caught up in every dish, and yes, it has to be within your ethos to make it to the menu, and it needs to make sense on your menu. But I can't stress enough how important that idea around how do you feel the next day, the next week, the next month, the next year about that restaurant, that experience.
Word of mouth.
It's word of mouth. Like, people, like, we're still so hung up on vanity metrics in this industry around how many views did my reel get, how many likes, how many cents.
Oh my God.
That stuff is great. It is a data point and metric that I will absolutely look at, but word of mouth is king.
I just think to like push on that a little bit, it's like if you tell me, hey, here's an awesome agency to work with and they're going to get your followers from 50,000 to 80,000 within the next 3 months, like, are we like, okay, cool. But if that doesn't also equate to my revenue going up proportionately.
If you can measure it against revenue, great.
Yeah.
And you can understand, right, on that journey from 50 to 80, every 10,000 followers I get, I can look at a direct line and go on my revenue and say, I literally make more money.
Yeah.
Then great.
Yeah.
That is not the case for most people when they're looking at these numbers.
Totally.
They're just going, we've got a great following and this product went viral, therefore we are successful. And then you look at their revenue, it's exactly the same as what it was before that.
The worst part is, look, I would even tolerate that if your revenue hasn't changed, but it's at the right frequency.
Sure.
Right? Like if you're making money and when I say the right frequency, it isn't just a profit thing. It's about, have you got enough money to work on the business, right? Have you got enough money to be investing in your administrative functions so that you're thinking about scale, right? In a nutshell.
Yeah.
And most of the time people haven't, right? And it's like, hey, you know what? If you've done that and you're sitting sweet and you're growing well and blah, 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 then fine, go ham on your vanity metrics if that's what's important to you.
Totally.
But yeah, if you're investing all this time and money into just, getting likes and getting followers and it's not actually equating to your revenue, getting you into that, sweet spot,
Yeah.
you're wasting your money.
Yeah.
A good example, not venue specific, but people don't come back to your venue because your website was sexy.
Yeah.
They come back because
Definitely not.
the thing they ate was wicked.
Yeah, and your experience was great, and you
Yeah.
felt great about being there, and
Yeah.
you couldn't wait to tell the person at work about it. Rather than that's a very different metric than I couldn't wait to post about it.
Yeah.
Like two very different things.
But can I again go a bit deeper on that? The product nerd in me feels compelled to define this a bit better.
Yeah.
It is what you say, right? It's like, fuck, it was just tasty. It was just awesome. But I think it's more than that. It definitively and clearly solves a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's the thing that we also have to take into account.
Yeah,
Because, that's obviously in most instances what's underwriting their propensity to then go and talk about it. Like if it's just really good, it's like, cool, it will stay in your mind for a while.
yeah,
But if it genuinely solves a problem for you, you will continually come back to that solution.
yeah,
And I just think, I don't know, we've never really done this exercise. Maybe we should, but when you have those moments of like, fuck, this is just awesome, like we should actually go that step further and go, well, hang on, what's the problem this is solving? Like sometimes it could just be price point. Sometimes it could just be value.
Yeah.
Sometimes it could just be, hey, this is a combination of flavors and techniques that I would never have thought about before.
Sure.
So it's innovate, that solves a big problem.
yeah.
But I think drilling to that point actually gives you like superpower clarity on like how to leverage.
Yeah, definitely. I think that reference, and sometimes it might be your audience is there, you're just not talking to them with the right thing. And you look at a lot of those success stories around the promo night or the Sunday lunch or whatever else, the pop-ups, that sort of thing. Look at the venues that are getting a lot of spotlight and actually getting success off that as the metric of like actual revenue and throughput are the ones that are putting themselves out there again and again and again.
Yeah.
Like it's relentless.
So I feel like this is a good segue because effectively we're saying, product is literally everything the guest interacts with, including after they leave. All right. And so product management is effectively ensuring that all those pieces are in synergy, right? And that they evolve intentionally and they genuinely solve a problem in a product market fit kind of way, which is awesome, right? So let's actually talk about the real nuts and bolts of achieving product market fit. It's like, I think that's where you're going now, right? Is like, so how do I do it? Like I get that, right? I've got a business. I've never thought about this shit before. Now I'm starting to think about it. I'm going to go home. I'm going to look at my menu. I'm going to do all this analysis. But what do I do now? Like what are the physical processes and whatnot? Can you walk me through some?
Yeah, I mean, taking a half step back to our pyramid is ensuring that you know who you are as the number one. Because I think, as we've seen, people try and climb the pyramid a bit too quick and then start to work on product consistency and then out the other side on promo and usually skip all of it and go straight to promo without that groundwork done. So number one, back to identity. You 100% know who you are, what you do, how you do it, right? From there is then looking at what's actually happening in your business. Like it's pretty simple. Like owners look at funny things sometimes. They just look at their revenue coming in and then we'll just use the only metric of the rise and fall of that revenue as to how they're going and don't dig too much deeper into that. It's like, okay, when you look at data, you need to look at all aspects of data. So, I mentioned before what's happening on your socials. That can be part of it, but it's more the financial data that's coming through. So what's your product mix? Like that's the first thing I always look at. Like some people, like I've done this recently for one of the PAX clients of they think they're one thing, but then the data tells a whole different story.
Yep.
And it's not just looking at the product mix in terms of sales, but ordering frequency. So your dollars might show one thing, but the amount of order, if you look at it by item, then that could tell a whole different story as well.
Sure.
It just doesn't give as much revenue to you. So looking at that, really important. looking at general guest behavior, looking at all your reviews. Like it can be tedious, but when you break it down, you can get a really good read on what's going on in your business by obviously the customers coming through. And if you've got that set up with whether it's 7 rooms, open table, whoever else. So understanding what that means to you as well. Like we said before, like it's not about getting nitty gritty and getting worried about every review that comes through that's 4.5 stars. No, but it's more about frequency. Yeah, the themes. I was just going to say the frequency of certain things.
Yes.
The people that, like, I can shrug my shoulders on a 1-star review if it's something that's a bit abnormal. You're like, I've never heard anyone say that. And then you check in with a few people. You're like, oh yeah, no one's ever had that problem. You're like, okay, this guest did. Don't refute that. But if I don't see it again 3-4 times, I don't see it as an overarching problem in our service delivery or product or whatever else. So you're looking for that. You're getting a high frequency of the same issues pop up or same recommendations. Like grab that and really look at that. So whether it's price point or accessibility or like whatever that thing is, use that as a data point to understand what that looks like in your product.
In a busy service, seconds count. Square's point of sale is there to streamline your operations from order flowing from the front of house to the back of house to tableside payments with Square handheld. It's tech your staff will love to use and tech they won't need to fiddle with so they can focus on the best service. Head to squareup.com because service still matters.
Can I throw an additional element in?
Yeah.
Again, bringing it back to our framework, right? Like we talk about the pyramid and we're talking about that. Really what we're talking about here is going from that step between identity going to product. And how we do that diagnostically is through a process called concept refinement.
Yep.
And that's effectively what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Because so many times you see people that are just really, really clear on their identity, even if it is intuitive, like fucking props, love that, right?
Yeah.
But then what are you leaving on the table? Like I've worked with chefs in the past that are like, I don't do fries.
Sure.
Don't do it. It's like, okay.
Cool.
But, you know, if you speak to
You're a pub in the suburbs. We've got a problem.
Yeah, bad call.
Ding, ding, ding.
But like, it's like, you know, and then you see that, okay, but so many customers are asking for it. You know, they're continually asking for it, but it's like, but we don't do that. It's like, okay, but then if you did do it, like it's not necessarily compromising your integrity, right?
No.
It's just that's those 1%ers that you dial up, and then suddenly that one item might be a couple of grand of revenue a week.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of like, would you want to do it then if you knew what those numbers were?
Yeah. I mean, in the absence of that evidence, I think people really struggle with that idea.
Right.
And it's just about showing them and actually doing, and this is what it comes back to. It's like this constant ideation and then testing.
Yes.
And allowing the ability to fail and allowing your team to say, you know what, we're going to put fries on the menu. And I know some of you guys don't love that idea, but let's just see what happens.
Yeah.
Like what's the worst that could happen here, guys? For 2 weeks, we're going to run fries and we're going to have it on our menu and we'll just see what happens.
We won't sell any wedges. That's going to happen, I reckon.
Like,
love wedges.
But it's like you put it on and you try. Like none of your regulars are going to stop coming in.
No, God, no. Number one, that's not going to change.
Yeah.
And then you look at, okay, did head spend change? Maybe.
Yeah.
Did suddenly were we selling 2 sides instead of 1? Because before everyone was getting the salad, but no one was ordering the potato dish because they just actually wanted fries.
Yeah.
So suddenly your head spend could go up, right?
Yeah.
Or suddenly the drinkers that sit at the bar who sit there with nothing get fries now. So again, impacts head spend and overall revenue. And until you have that evidence, it's too hard. It's impossible for anyone to argue here or there.
Yeah.
I think that's the specific thing in our industry. I think a lot of people think we're always playing for keeps in everything we do. It's like, it's like zero-sum stuff. Like, we put this on the menu, everything could change.
Yeah.
It's like, no one's going to care. We're not like, everyone's thinking, it's like the people thinking about us are our customers when they're there and us.
But
right?
here's the classic argument to that, right? It's you're not McDonald's. And even McDonald's put weird shit on their menu.
And that's exactly like McDonald's is a perfect example. Like they're a juggernaut and they're still able to test and and understand what their customer wants. Like your coffee at McDonald's is the example of that.
Yeah,
and now they own 20% of the Australian market because one day someone went, fuck, we got to compete in the coffee market.
Yeah.
Otherwise, like we're losing to the normal cafe, right? That's obviously exploded after the last 20 years, and they killed it.
Yeah, ridiculous.
Right.
So without giving away too many of your secrets, there's a bit of a sequence forming here in my mind, right? It's like if you're going in to do this, you're going to start with the identity piece and just make sure that is absolutely clear and well articulated. Then before you just go head on into product, that concept refinement piece is where you're actually getting pretty forensic, right? You're looking at data.
Yeah.
You're going to look at the POS data. You're going to look at the sales by category reports. You're going to see what's selling. You're going to look at reviews. You're going to try and study guest behavior. Like I know a big part of your product audit and the strategy put together is actually going into the venue and dining there, sometimes working there and just getting a sense of like, okay, what are people saying on the ground? So you're kind of just gathering this real database of well, I guess it's quantitative and qualitative.
It is. And I think a big one that not detailed there is also just having those direct conversations with frontline. So what are the chefs saying? Because a lot of the time they're like the aggregator of feedback from front of house.
Yeah, sure.
They're the one on the pass, right? If you've got a good communication loop, if you haven't got, like this kind of comes back to everything else we talk about, but mission stuff and everything, and big one in culture. If you haven't got a great culture, the staff aren't coming back and telling the chef, hey, no one's liking this dish because they're scared to sometimes. But let's pretend everything's rosy in that department, that you do speak to the chef, you speak to frontline staff, like the waiters that are literally serving this stuff every day. It's like, what are the things coming up multiple times? What are people asking for? Is everyone asking for fries and we don't have it? Are people asking for half serves of a particular thing? Like
or sometimes what are the themes that they're saying? They're not necessarily asking for it because they don't know what they want, but there's just themes coming up that you could then define and solve for.
Yeah, totally. Like, a lot of it happens quite frequently when I'll speak to a waiter or multiple waiters in a team and they'll be like, I just find it really hard to explain the menu. Like that's a big one that comes up all the time. There's just no flow, or there's just none of this, or there's just missing that. And a lot of the time just comes down to that menu architecture and just going, just
remove the friction.
Yeah, absolutely. Go back to the friction piece.
Yeah.
What makes it easier for a customer to sit at the table or a guest and decipher your menu as quickly as possible.
Yep.
If they have to like second guess themselves when they're ordering, then you're already up against it.
Totally. Can I just go back a step and give you an example of the chef being the aggregator of feedback?
Yeah.
I've told you this before, so you just have to sit through it again.
Yeah.
But my really, really good mate, Jason Jones, right, who was the founding chef and owner at Mamacita, me and him had a restaurant together like an eternity ago. And one day, it was so funny, he basically just, got us all around in brief and was like, hey, tonight I'm adding a dish to the menu. And we'd get super pumped when he'd do that because, that restaurant was like Moroccan. It was lots of really cool new flavors, pretty heavy, lots of spice and whatnot. And he busts out a garden salad, right? Just like the most classic, the way it was described and everything. It was pretty like almost Australiana vibe. And we were just like, the fuck? Really, man? Like a garden salad? Like why the hell are you putting that? Like what? And no one even thought about it more. Like I guarantee you, no one went into service going, "I'm going to push that." But guess what? It sold the fuck out of itself, right? And it became like our biggest. Like that night, I was just like, "What the fuck?" I'm just watching them fly out. And why that came about is because he, long before I'd even understood the idea of product market fit or product at all, he was just doing it, right? Because he's at the pass every night and he's listening to the staff when they're coming back. And he used to even do shifts on the floor, right? And he had this thing. He's just like, it just seems like I always hear that everyone's really full, it's like really heavy food. And it's like, and just, hey, what if they had a side salad to go with that? Like, would that just lighten it up a little bit? So he kind of did that thing where it wasn't just like listening to what customers said and running with it. It was listening to the feedback and then ideating to read between the lines and solve a problem.
Yeah.
And it crushed it, So, it's where my mind always goes. Okay, can we then ask, so basically you've got a really sort of data-driven way of trying to optimize, right, between identity and physical products that exist.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to say on that? Like, I mean, what's have we missed anything there? Is it just that simple? Because I'm just thinking like, anyone can do this. Why do they need to hire you?
No, they don't. It's all a ruse. No, please hire me. No, it's yes, anyone can do this, but I think at the end of the day, I mean, time's a big factor, definitely.
Sure. Yeah.
And also just having the understanding of what to look for forensically, because you can just look at data and go, oh yeah, we sell heaps of that dish.
Yeah.
Great. What do I do with that information?
Yeah, sure.
Right.
Sure.
And what can I create that sits around that responds to the obvious love of that particular part of my menu that enhances someone's experience and therefore increases my head spend.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So looking at ways to add in hooks into that experience that sit around your successful sellers. Right. So, going back, like harping on about the steak night, it's an easy one. It's really easy to understand is, a venue puts on a steak night. It goes really, really well. It's like, oh, hang on. We don't even sell steak on the menu. The normal menu. Why not? It's like we've proven that 90 to 100 people every week come here for steak.
Yeah.
Great. That is the best test and learn
Sure,
ever.
sure.
Right? And we've shown that works. Okay. So then suddenly it's like, okay, obviously you put a steak on the menu that's less affordable than the steak night, but still fits within the realm of what we do. But then put things around it that make sense with that ritual of steak.
Yep.
Right. What do the sides look like that sit well with that steak? What are the sauces that will become known for with that steak? So you create these little hooks along the menu to then enhance the product that you've just proven has product market fit.
Yep.
And then they're the things that then lead into how we work with marketing to then enhance what we do and people's understanding of what we do.
Sure.
Because we've shown that those hooks work.
Yeah, got it. I love that. And so one thing I'll just say though, in terms of the qualification and quantification of the data is I think what's really important. So if someone listening to this just goes, yeah, I can do that and goes and has a crack at it, great. That's
awesome.
a win.
Yeah.
We want that.
Totally.
But what I think you do quite uniquely, and this might sound a little bit philosophical, is you've got to be able to do that, right? You've got to be able to look at the data, but almost separate yourself from yourself.
Yeah. I mean, this is,
sense.
I know exactly what you're saying, getting at. I had a friend the other day say, oh, I can do what you do. I'm like, yeah, also, I reckon you could. And then I'm like, all right, give me an example of this. I literally came up with a scenario. This menu, and they're like, oh, well, I think.
Bang.
And I was like, you're out. You're out. Brother, I'm not hiring you as a product manager. Yeah. Why? What did I say? It's like, you said, I think.
Yeah. It's got nothing to do with your thing.
It literally, you got to let go of your ego and bullshit about what you like.
Yeah.
Because if I'm looking at it from my perspective as how I eat and drink, this is my MO, right? I need high salt, high acid, sourness in drinks.
Right.
All these things I need. All those things, but still be balanced, crazy, right? It's just not a thing, all right? If I took that lens into everything I do in product in restaurants, we would end up with a real salty world, right? Sure. But you have to take yourself right out of it and go, well, actually, I'm acting as the customer here. And there's a range in that still.
For
it
sure.
still needs to be balanced and seasoned well and all that sort of stuff.
How does he start that sentence then? If it's not I think.
Instead of I think, it's the customer would think.
Yeah.
Right.
Or I can observe.
Yeah, I can observe,
Yes,
or the customer would think, and understanding. Well, the customer is center to this, and I look at lots of different things, whether it's how a dish tastes or how a dish reads on a menu. It's like, would my parents be able to read this and go, I know what all these words are. Great. I'm not alienated here.
Yeah.
Nothing infuriates me more than going to somewhere like a pub that's meant to be for everyone, and there's shit on the menu that even I have to think about. I'm a food person, quote unquote, in the industry, and I still look at menus sometimes in places that are meant to be, community led and all this sort of stuff, and I'm like, I don't know what I'm fucking reading.
Yeah.
And I feel out of depth. I'm like, well, if I feel out of depth, well, fucking hope my parents have got.
Yeah.
Right?
Too much friction.
Yeah, exactly. Friction.
So jumping then into I'd love to just talk more about the test and learn bit, because this is great, right? And again, to just give you a quick example, I remember talking to a very, very amazing, talented marketing guy, right? Like he's kind of like my go-to guy when I want to know anything about marketing. And I hit him up for a coffee a long time ago when I was trying to figure out how the fuck do you hire a CMO, in a hospitality business that can warrant it and that can pay, the salary for it. Like, how do you go about doing it? Because they're really hard to find. And when we started talking about it was like, hang on, just tell me why you want this. Like, what are you trying to solve here? And I was like, well, I just don't want I don't want the way that we do marketing to just be, socials or promotion alone, right? Like I have, read all the books now and studied the fucking subject. And it's like, I get it. Marketing needs to be forensic and we need to be, and I'm, just bleeding out all these great marketing terms. And then he says like, yeah, okay. And he's like, man, look, I think you're hard pressed here because, the people that can operate at that level, they usually don't go to hospitality because it doesn't pay enough, And so you're kind of looking for a unicorn here. And he said, but also that idea of just being able to do things more forensically, like, what do you mean by that? Like, why aren't, you doing that? And I said, well, he was like, what's an example? I said, well, the example is like, how do we we don't have a really great customer feedback loop. We're not sort of sitting there and like planning menus, based on, hey, we're like everything we just talked about, right?
Yeah.
We're not doing that enough. And I feel like that's a role that, that's the way marketing should view their value and the way that they build value into the organization is by, forensically looking at these sorts of things. And he's like, yeah, but you say you don't have like a good product, like a good customer feedback loop, but don't you? And I was like, nah, like I just said, we don't, like we're not doing this. I was like, yeah, but think about it. And he basically was just like, man, you've actually got the fastest, most live feedback loop out of any industry.
Yeah.
He was like, man, in, engineering or in automotive, you spend a year designing and releasing a car and then you release it, you launch it. You don't know for 12 months whether you hit product market fit, right? Yes, but you could put something on the menu and you'll find out that night
whether it
immediately whether people like it or not. So aren't you already doing it? And that just blew my mind. And I was like, yeah, fuck, we would totally need to just lean into that more. And
Definitely.
That's effectively what you're talking about with test and learn, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at everything happening in restaurants at the moment and harking back to what I was saying before around the restaurants that are really active on doing lots of things in their business, whether it's promos or pop-ups or that sort of thing. I put the same lens on the venues that are constantly ideating new dishes and putting on the menu, like they're in the same camp.
Yep.
They're constantly testing and learning, as you say.
Yeah.
And trying to understand what's sticking and what's not. And again, a lot of people just do it intuitively because they're like, we love cooking. We love changing the menu.
There's a confidence to try something as well.
Yeah,
I guess.
exactly. Yeah. Rather than be like, oh, this dish it's the classic thing of like the signature dish that the chef's scared to change or the venue owner's scared to change because so many people like that. Like people will be outraged. It's like, yeah, but you created that.
Yeah.
Like, don't you just back yourselves to do that again? It's like, just test something. Like swap it with something or ideate it, make it better, whatever. Have a crack.
I think something that I've found useful when it comes to the test and learn bit, or the MVP bit, whatever you want to call it, is like setting some parameters around it.
Yeah, like understanding what a success looks like by putting it on. Because if there's no metric to work off, then forget about it. It's hard to be like, really that's successful or not.
Yeah.
If it just sold, if it was parity with the other dish you're trying to replace, it's like, I guess it's as popular.
Yeah.
But if you set out and you're like, we need to sell 20 of these to show that it's more popular than the other dish, just swap it out, right?
It gives you a reference point because then on the night, if you only sold 10, right, in normal situations, most people, if it was just like speculative, they're much like, nah, it didn't work, fuck it.
Totally.
But if it's like, okay, well, we were halfway to where we wanted to get to.
Yeah.
You instantly then get to make this decision. Do we just need to pivot, slightly tweak the dish? Do we just need to persevere with it and go, you know what, one night's not enough to test it, let's run it for the week?
Yeah.
Or do you just kill it and go, no, for it to double in unit sales, just reach out, right?
Yeah.
But at least it just gives you that kind of really kind of measured way of working through that rather than, what do you guys think? I don't reckon it. And then you're just instantly going around in circles.
Totally. Becomes subjective.
Yeah. Is there any examples of this that you could throw out there of just like, an MVP that you kind of put on a menu somewhere or that you brought to life that then you had to either tweak or kill?
Yeah.
I've got one.
You got one? You go
It's not
first.
mine. I mean, I'm not
You
a
go
chef,
first.
but I've worked at everyone will know this, Shannon Bennett's truffle risotto. Like it was,
classic.
we're talking like 20 years ago.
Yeah.
It was such an icon of,
Yeah. I've had that dish.
yeah, it's delicious.
Yeah.
But when Vue de Monde moved to Rialto, the concept was kind of changing in terms of what Vue de Monde was.
Yeah.
It used to be decadent and French, and it was moving more into being contemporary and Australian.
Yeah.
But this truffle risotto was just like hanging on
Yeah. Hanging on for
because
dear
of
life.
this
Yeah.
fear. Well, not fear, but just that there was such a big customer base that loved it.
Yeah.
So to get that, but it made no sense on a menu with all this like really interesting kind of native contemporary dishes that Corey was doing. So Shannon just kind of had to make that decision of like, we got to pull it, but let's look at something else. And the development went really hard into a new
Replacement. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think having the confidence to do that. It's like,
Yeah.
it's brought you this far. Great.
Yeah.
And having a pivotal point to make that decision as well. It's not just because, I feel like it. It's like, oh no, we're a different restaurant than what we were. And it's
Yeah.
okay to let it go.
Yeah.
Rather than holding on for dear life.
Yeah.
Like so
I think
important.
that was a very happy day for Corey, the head chef, to see the back of
Yeah,
that.
like, thank fuck. I guess my example is more of a service, something in service that kind of changed the venue a lot. So I was at Bar Liberty, and there was a lot of this sort of thing that happened early doors because it was such a hard place to work into physically. Not a lot of room to do anything. And literally the week before opening, we're looking around the bar and going, oh, fuck, there's nowhere to put our fizz, like sparkling wine or anything like that, by the glass because there's nowhere to put an ice bucket. It has to come from the fridge. That's going to be logistically annoying at the start of when we're trying to get drinks in hand as quickly as possible. How do we create something that means that as soon as that guest is sat, essentially in unison with the menu, we're getting something in front of them as quickly as possible to then obviously, so they've got a glass in their hand and then they can think about the menu straight away. So that's where the Globe was born. So finding one of those classic Globe bars, ripping the guts out of it, putting a bowl in it and filling it with ice, and suddenly we had a ice bucket on wheels.
Yeah, nice.
And we could take it to the table, and then it really spoke to who we are.
Nice.
And what we did there.
It solved a problem.
And it solved a big problem.
Huge.
Right? And I mean, the only shtick we got for it was literally written in our review from Good Food that came out weeks after we opened was, the Globe is great, but it's a slippery slope when champagne's $25 a glass. And we don't say that. And it's like, you didn't ask.
Also, $25 a glass is a steal.
Yeah, back then, 10 years ago. But yeah, we were able to deliver, we were able to explain the three things we had by the glass out of that Globe, which spoke true to our identity because we were able to talk about the producers we work with and love and all that sort of thing. The Globe was a bit of fun. Like people were like confused when you bring it over and then you do the reveal and they're like, oh my God, this is amazing. And, 8 times out of 10, someone was getting something out of that Globe poured at the table.
good.
And it just changed people's experience straight up.
Yeah, nice. Trying to think of like this really specific examples I could give you on this are all business concept related, but
We need a short black.
no, they're just going to take too long. Trying to think of the quickest one I can give you is just a personal one where when I was in business school, I had this great concept in my head. Me and a mate had this idea to bring to life this like motorcycling concept, right? It wasn't just like, we're into motorbikes, let's do something. It was more like, hey, how do we actually fix the inherent problems in this industry? And one of the things we realized was that there's this real decline in new entrants to the market, right? It's really hard to get your motorbike license. It's hard to learn how to ride one. It's hard to know where to find one, all that sort of shit. And we had this, so we were doing it the non-product way, right? We were just like, man, we should like buy an old petrol station, turn it into like a motorcycle themed cafe. And you know what's going to happen is we're going to attract, the types of motorcyclists that want to create more inclusive, diverse environments. Because when you think about a motorcyclist, the image you probably conjure up in your head is like, some dickhead with a Southern Cross hat, speeding down the freeway doing something dangerous, right? And that is like the tiniest percentage of the market now. So we're like, okay, let's how do we differentiate? We said, well, one thing that separates those two types of riders is the way you wash your motorbike, right? Like the way that you wash your motorbike. Like when you're one of those appreciation, you ride for philosophical, spiritual reasons, man. The way you wash your motorbike is a fucking religious experience, right? And for all the adrenaline guys, it's like, I was riding in the rain, it's like that sort of vibe. So we're like, okay, let's create this space where you can come and wash your motorbike. Okay? And there'll be a cafe there so you can have a coffee and you can hang out with other dudes and you can talk to people about motorbikes. It's going to be fucking awesome. And we were like ready to throw down. So we were like, I think we were going to spend about $800,000 on this.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And what would have happened, right? We would have realized that, okay, either people love this or hate it, right? We would have spent the 800 and figured out in 6 months whether we were right or not.
Hope for the best.
Hope for the best, right? So thankfully it was at that time that I was learning about product management. I was like, hey, bro, whoa, let's stop for a second and let's actually test some of these assumptions. And so what we did was we ran a couple of focus groups. Okay, and we got a whole bunch of we did it like 3 different nights, right? It was all just on Zoom and we asked all these motorcyclists about...
Meet us at Wet on Wellington.
Well, it was so amazing. So what we found out, right, on the back of this research was that anyone who really gives a shit about washing their bike, they're not going to go somewhere else to do it because they've got everything set up exactly the way they want it at home. And we're like, fuck, didn't think about that. And what actually came out of the themes that we could identify across every single one of the focus groups is what people really wanted was just more information. And it didn't matter. So we interviewed test groups where it was experienced riders, people that had just started riding and people that said they want to ride but haven't started yet, haven't bought a bike. And the thing that was common across all 3 test cases was that everyone wanted more information. And so we were like, okay, cool. Well, how can we pivot this concept to actually speak to that more? And what we realized is no one gives a fuck about washing their bike. They don't even waste time with that. But the cafe is where it's at, right? Having the coffee shop that is motorcycle themed, right? But the engine that kind of drives that experience is actually going to be mentorship. Okay, and we'll actually run it there's a mentorship program here. You can come in. So if you say you want to get a bike, we'll introduce you to someone. They'll walk you through what gear to get, the bike to get, all that sort of jazz. And we actually tested it by just putting out a link on a couple of motorcycle forums where we were like, okay, let's just be like, hey, mentorship program, hit the link. All right? Let's just see how many people actually hit the link, how many people go through the questionnaire, how many people sign up to it. It was just like a nominal thing and we were like, we'll do a couple of mentoring sessions. And we could actually test conversion. I can't remember what the actual numbers were that we used as benchmarks. I think we said something like 10%. So we were hoping 1,000 people clicked the link and we were hoping 100 people signed up. And we fucking smashed it, and we had to refund all this money because we couldn't do the mentorship. But it was just a really good example of
test, learn, approve, delete.
Exactly. But that's I think when you think about that with the dishes that you come up with or the drinks that you come up with, often you'll put something out to market and it's only 1 degree of separation away from that perfect product market fit. And if it doesn't perform on its first night, you're just like, fuck, it didn't work and you scrap it.
Yeah.
But it's actually about just, looking at the variables a little bit and thinking about how to optimize it.
Yeah.
The test part's really good. I think the learn part would be good to just dive into real quick. So, what are some of the ways that I can learn, right? Like eating, how important is it to just actually eat in your own venue or use important. Secret shoppers to give you perspective? Can you talk about that?
Both of those things are important, give you really different perspectives on your venue. The first one is eating your own venue, whether you're a chef or front of house, doesn't matter. You should be eating your own venue, definitely, and it's not many people do it. A big one around chefs eating their own venue in particular is experiencing dish after dish after dish after dish rather than tasting something on the pass and then after a while and you're tasting a small amount of it.
True.
And I've had this conversation with chefs before. I'd be like, man, it's all delicious, but fuck, it's all the salt builds and builds and builds and builds. By the end of it, you're like, oh my God, you're waking up at 1 a.m. and you're just parched after being there. But the chef doesn't experience that if they're not going in there because they're just tasting them individually going, yeah, great, that's exactly the level of seasoning I want. But until they experience that in unison, they they can't really get a read on what that experience is like.
Yeah, if it's balanced.
Yeah, so seeking balance. So that's definitely important. And then from like secret shoppers, I think definitely like it's something I was definitely against.
Really?
Not that long ago, because I was like, fuck, what are these people going to tell us that we don't already know? But then
Turns out a lot.
Turns out quite a bit. Yeah, and again, it's kind of like the general reviews, whether it's Google or Seven Rooms, where you look for the commonalities. It's true of secret shoppers as well. Like you get a few in and then you get them saying the same things, but you get more detail because you're asking them for more detail other than hitting a 4 or 5 or 3-star review and giving very little context. And you're just getting more context around those specific things from a user, not someone in the industry not someone in the venue, like a chef or an owner who's like, there's this thing I think is really important for them to dine, but you are going to get you're going to get 2 ends of the scale, either the best service ever because you're the owner or the worst service ever because they're like, you're the owner and you can wait because I'm going down like a sack of shit over here.
Classic.
So you get somewhat of a read, but not a total read.
Yep.
But when you go in secret shopper style, you do get the upside of the people don't know who this person could be. So you just get the general idea of what this venue is.
Yeah.
Like I have experienced a lot where I used to go to certain venues a hell of a lot, and because like my mates worked there and I had the best time ever, and I'd be like, oh my God, I'd speak about that venue to the end of the earth because of how much I love it. And then you go back there and the guy, my mates aren't there and no one knows who I am walking in, nor should they. Or maybe they should because I was fucking regular. But walk in, they don't know, and then suddenly your experience is totally different. Like, oh wow, this is what everyone gets.
Yeah.
Potentially.
Yeah.
So just that understanding that it's different experiences for different people sometimes. So that secret shopper experience just lifts the hood a bit and goes, what's actually happening in there? Not what you think's happening.
I wonder if you're a business owner and you're really keen, you could also explore a really good disguise or
What's that show called? Undercover Boss?
Oh, yeah.
A bit hard when you've got only a couple of businesses.
Yeah, and a quota of 10,000 headcount.
Yeah, exactly.
So, hey, I'd love to just also discuss. So we've kind of talked about or touched on a little bit about there's a lot of overlap here between product and marketing.
Yeah.
And like, so if you think about it, where product sits, it's where operations, marketing and strategy intersect.
Yeah.
You draw a line around that node, that's product.
Yeah.
But for the marketing bit, right, where does that overlap begin and end and what does it contain? Can you guys talk about that a little bit?
I think maybe we come at it from like if we're going to audit a business, a potential PAX client, you have your product audit and I have my marketing audit and then we come together straight away afterwards. And so I'm looking for things like how are you defined in the market? How are you actually defining yourself through your own channels? Like are you a wine bar in the burbs, but all of your menu is actually reading pretty highbrow? So and I look at the analytics of social as well, and I look at reservation analytics and a whole lot of that kind of stuff. And then Michael will go and experience the product and come back and we try and ascertain, is this fitting?
Got you.
Yeah.
And
is there a general consensus here? Like, are we both thinking the same thing?
Yeah. And like a lot of stakeholder conversations of, what do the team think it is?
Right.
Is that aligning with what we're actually marketing it is? It is. And is that aligning with what the POS figures are telling us people are eating? It's so fun and so interesting because sometimes it's like bang on and other times, you've got head chefs in venue thinking that their best sellers are one thing and you look at the POS and it's not. And it's like, okay, it's because you're advertising yourself as something completely different to what you are.
I mean, it's so tedious, but what it sounds like is like you guys are effectively just going through like all the variables,
all of
like
it.
one by one and assessing it against that product market fit concept.
Yeah,
Like,
it's all the
it comes
boring
back-
stuff for me that owners just
No
don't
one
want
wants
to
to
do.
look at.
Yeah, no one's
I
looking
love
at-
it.
Well,
I'm
it all-
looking at how are you getting results in Google? Like what are
Yeah.
people searching for to find your venue?
It all comes back to friction. Like that word comes up a lot,
Yeah.
has come a lot
Remove
in this
the friction.
conversation, and particularly what Loren does, say on the front end of people trying to find your business, it's all about removing friction.
Yeah.
It's like there's, someone types in wine bar St Kilda
Yeah.
and you happen to be a wine bar in St Kilda, but for some reason you listed yourself as a restaurant,
Yeah.
Yeah.
they're just never going to find you.
Yeah,
Not coming
sure.
up.
Yeah, and that might be like, oh yeah, but how many people do that? It's like, it's a 1%.
It's those
It's a
1,000 paper
1%.
cuts.
Like
right?
you say 1%, but then we've done it for businesses. Lauren has, where we've changed the listing, the Google listing, and bookings went up exponentially.
Yeah,
because
sure.
we went from wine bar to restaurant.
Yeah, it's not just 1% anymore.
Exactly, no longer a 1%er. So
Yeah.
sometimes it can be disproportionate to the change. Yeah.
And then the next step that we would do is go, okay, now that we have defined what this positioning is, like what are you in a sentence? What food how do you describe the food in a sentence? We then look at, okay, from a product lens perspective, what are the guardrails and barriers that we put in place so that weird and wacky things don't end up on the menu that don't make sense. So, a list of maybe 10 things that we are this, we're not, we do this, we don't.
Got it.
Our dish presentation is this. It's
A lot of filtration, which is great.
Yeah.
Because so if I try to bring this home, like go back to the start, okay, and we're talking about, the pyramid, right? We're talking about identity, product, consistency, promo. And what you guys are talking about is almost like a filtration system that sits in between each of those.
yeah.
Because when you're going from, firstly, with identity, you need to be able to articulate it. But then even when you have, how do you operationalize it into the physical product?
Yeah.
That concept refinement piece is critical.
Yeah.
And analyzing all these points of friction is critical because then that's going to help you get into consistency.
Yeah.
And then when you do promo,
Yeah.
you're giving yourself the best chance of making every dollar that you spend turn into $1.20.
Well, and that's where the product management piece comes in, like straight after the concept and identity, which lives in so many people's heads, particularly founders. How do the staff on the ground, how does the head chef, how does the GM know how to deliver on that concept?
Yeah, exactly.
So we've got to give them a rule book.
Yeah, love that. So, okay, everything we talked about today is effectively like product management and how it sits within that pyramid. And it's effectively that idea. Like I think what we talked about a lot today, which has never been so solidified for me, is that it's those components, right, of being, uncompromisingly customer-centric, uncompromisingly brand-centric and mission-centric, and bringing those things together in a way that reduces friction or obliterates friction if you can.
Yeah.
And so then how do you do that shit, right? Like that's the kind of complicated bit. And what we're saying is when you manage all that well within a well put together product strategy, what you will then achieve is that product market fit, right? Where you've got a fully optimized product offering. And then how you do that, right? The nitty gritty is like starting with the data, getting really lost in that to understand what is selling, what isn't selling, why. Just talk to your customers effectively, whether you do that through the chef or through, your staff, or whether you do that directly. Go and talk to them. You're going to learn a shitload, right? And you need to take that direct customer input. You need to look through it. So you're not just doing the knee-jerk reaction. You're looking through it to actually identify what are the needs here and how do we actually make sure that we're solving the right problems. But you also have to be agile, right? You got to be willing to test those solutions in a really fast way, in a dynamic way. So that test and learn bit is really, really important, right? Like you're better off getting a product into market that's only 80% so you can learn about it faster than waiting to get it 100%, because it doesn't matter what you do. You don't know whether you've hit product market fit. The market tell you that.
Yeah.
Right.
There's this perceived idea that everything needs to be perfect before you ship it, but who's to say what perfect is
Exactly.
other than the market?
To get it out so you can learn. Learning is more important.
Yeah.
And then I think, obviously that where product and marketing overlaps is super clear, right? Like it's got to be that joint filter that works through every one of those stages. I think we talked about a lot of really kind of cool practical examples, but I feel like there's going to be a lot of people like listening to this and thinking of even better examples and probably even getting frustrated at some of the examples we made. They're like, oh, that was right there and you missed it. There's probably a few pencils being snapped.
Yeah.
But I think like if we I'd love to hear from some of those people.
Yeah.
Like, man, if you got examples, hit me up. Like just DM me on Instagram or email me, whatever. Like I want to hear, your thoughts on this stuff. But I think we're there. How do you guys feel about this?
Yeah, that was a corker.
All right.
Very
Love
good.
it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Wrap it up.
Love it.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks everyone for jumping in. See you guys next time.
Thanks for listening. Show notes, takeaways, and tools are available via our website, pax.melbourne. The PAX Hospitality Podcast is produced by PAX and Crate Creative. Support for this podcast comes from Square, and Brunswick Design and Innovation. Our music is produced by Patricia Heath and Matthias Vestergren.